The eras in the WDAS and Pixar canons have been discussed to death, but that's never really the case for DreamWorks Animation. I've decided to take a look at the canon, and it's pretty easy to dissect these films into general eras based on the history, certain characteristics in the films, and their reception. The era I want to discuss is the Pioneer Era, which lasted from 1988 to 2003. This era is the easiest one to group together, because this is when the company was at its most creative and ballsy. One of the main criteria regarding this era is mature content. Topics relating to religion, sexuality, and dictatorship were explored heavily. There was a variety of animation techniques, which involved traditional animation, CGI, and stop motion. The films consisted more subdued, lowbrow humor, and while celebrity voices were apparent, it was not as obnoxious as it would later become in future years. Some of these films were promoted and portrayed under the guise of being anti-Disney films. Most of these films are and will be the most dramatic films that DreamWorks will ever release in their lifetime. Two of these films were outright financial and critical flops, two barely made its budget back, two were decent hits, and one was a huge hit that forever changed the company. The reason why these three films are in their own transitional mini-era is because while they are the last three films to be distributed by DreamWorks SKG, which was before the Paramount distribution, each of the three contain characteristics that would be present in the next era and modern DreamWorks overall. The next era is what I would like to call the Paramount era, which lasted from 2006 to 2012. But these eras can easily be divided in half, kind of like how the Disney Renaissance is divided into two halves. Overall, there's a large case of sequelitis in this area, but what splits them apart is that there's a decrease in financial and critical reception for the first half, while both seem to have improved in the second half. This era, or half era, is the start of the distribution deal with Paramount Pictures. One of the major points in the commercial era is that CGI is in full force, since the studio abandoned traditional animation in 2003 with the flop of Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. The deal with Aardman Animation was going sour with creative differences and weak box office results, which caused the removal of stop-motion animation with DreamWorks and the deal to officially break in 2007. Increasing sequelitis was a major priority, and the need for a few strong franchises to form outside of Shrek. During this time, comedy became a lot more obnoxious and childish, with it being the main critique of why people dislike DreamWorks Animation. Financial and critical success were hit or miss, but the financial performances were never as bad as they were in the Pioneer era of DreamWorks. The Resurgence era is the second half of the Paramount era, and while most of the qualities in the first half still remain, there is an increase in quality with these films, which are starting to show in the critical and box office results. Financial and critical success were at an increase, with the Kung Fu Panda and the How to Train Your Dragon films forming their own franchises, and were tough competition for other studios in the awards categories. Many of the original films have strong fan bases to this day, and many were noting that there was a theme in the films which involved the characters accepting who they are and embracing their weirdness, and also their weird dilemmas. The older franchises were getting repetitive, tired, stale, and lacking in quality, which many people started to notice. A lot of these franchises were going to end, or at least what we thought at the time, which obviously isn't the case. I call this the second transitional era for two main reasons. The first reason involves the deal with Paramount expiring at the end of 2012, as talks with Paramount fizzled for a renewal, and they opened up their own division. DreamWorks would be distributed by 20th Century Fox. The second reason is because the start of a string of box office disappointments and inconsistent critical reception started with this period. The current and most recent era that we are in is called the 20th Century Fox era. Like I mentioned before, this period consists of the films that are distributed by 20th Century Fox up until the deal ends next year in 2017, with Captain Underpants being the last film. The last few years have seen disappointing box office results. Outside of a few exceptions, an inconsistent critical reception was also a present theme. The studio started to release less films since they were critiqued for their 3 films-a-year plan in the past. The disappointing box office results, which may be blamed on marketing on 20th Century Fox's part, caused countless of layoffs to be made throughout this period. A need for a successful franchise became more prevalent than ever, as they relied more and more on their current franchises to be strong hits over their original content, which wasn't making much of a mark at the moment. DreamWorks has already parted ways with 20th Century Fox, and this involves Katzenberg leaving his position in the animation studio. The company is currently in the process of being acquired by NBC Universal. Thank everyone for watching, and I will see you soon.